All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Happy Friday morning. I'm excited about this conversation, man. Let me tell you something. I have two gentlemen. These boys, they ain't no joke. They ain't no joke. They love what they do. And they're showing me up this morning because they got hair on this side, here on this side, here on this side, here. And I ain't got nothing. What's going on, gentlemen? How y'all doing this morning?
Blessed. Great.
Hey, you all are challenging me. I may have to bring it back because some people don't know it can come back. It ain't gone. This is style. This is not.
I've seen it. So
yeah, it's there. It's there. It may not be fully there everywhere,
but it's there.
It's there. But man, listen, Mar and Adrian, thank you, gentlemen, for joining me this morning.
Yes, sir.
Adrian, how's everything been going, man? I know you're running an incredible program, and I mean, the last 12 months has been amazing. I mean, you guys kept on chucking in the midst of all that was happening in 2020, and now you're in 2021. Tell our viewing audience a little bit about yourself and what you got going on.
Definitely. Well, first and foremost, man, I'm excited about this opportunity. So thank you so much, Coach, and thank you, Marv, for just joining me on this platform on this Friday morning. In regards to my nonprofit, the name is Youth Revive, and we have a program in 6 high schools, actually a total of 5 public high schools and 1 private high school. And yeah, man, we've been rocking and rolling. It's been a really good start to 2021. We are launching programming for this spring. We did that this week, and we're wrapping up the fall semester, looking at numbers, and so yeah, it's really been good in spite of a pandemic. Man, we had to do some pivoting and do all virtual, but yeah, I'm really grateful and just thankful of the outcome and the direction that we've been heading.
Excellent. Mark, man, listen, you and I had an opportunity last year and I think the year before to connect. We've done some shows together. Tell our viewing audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for being on the Effective Living show and the journey, brother. It has been great. It is good to connect with the brother Adrian. It's good to connect and meet with good people. Always. As you said before, my name is Mar Butler. I'm an inspirational speaker, community activist. My passion is teaching leadership development, preferably to young men, ages 12 to 25, who are living in areas that are considered underserved, so therefore they are labeled at risk. And the reason why I do that is try to change the trajectory by changing the narrative, teaching, leadership skills, behaviors, different concepts, mindsets, but it starts with you. So I developed a formula called Tree Leadership, and Tree Leadership stands for Truth, Restore, Empower, and Evolve. This will be the first year of the actual programming, where the courses will be tangible, where they can hold it in their hand and learn it online for both parents, mothers, and men, young men as well. So, I'm just here. I'm here for the journey, working with the Dallas Independent School District, working closely with the elected officials, some whom will want to get hands-on, firsthand involved with the community. So I'm hands-on everywhere, trying to create that source that connects both the educational system and the community and neighborhoods as well. So I'm just glad to be here and tell my story and share this space. Thank you.
Excellent, man. I'm honored to have both of you guys joining. Now, I know you both have been working with young people for a while, and Mar, you mentioned it lightly just there. My question for you guys, first and foremost, is why? Why young people? Why the particular focus? And if you're watching us, ladies and gentlemen, this is Effective Living. What does effective living look like for you? At the end of the day, the core purpose of this show is to help people to understand there's a place where you belong, where you just feel like a fish in water. You know, you're like a bird in the sky, where there's this natural element for living in that place where you believe, man, this is what I was born to do. And I love these gentlemen because their passion and their interest builds on, this is what I do. This is what I enjoy doing. And so you guys have made a commitment to help young people. Adrian, help us to understand why you revive, why young people over the years when you could have decided to do so many other things.
Yeah, definitely. Man, it's my call. This is what I believe God has placed me on the earth to do. And while I can be doing so many other things, I believe this is my wheelhouse, man. And you know, a part of that, I believe that young people need to see Black men in leadership positions, assisting them, helping them to become and understand who they are. There's a quote that I love: "You're becoming now who you will be for the rest of your life." And so, young people need someone to journey along with them every day, so that they can become who ultimately God has purposed for them to be. And I think that's a part of my responsibility, to help tool, to help give instruction, to cheer on, to motivate, and to inspire, and to encourage. And so I've been blessed to be able to do that over the last 15, 16 years. It's looked different, you know, year after year. But my sole purpose here upon this earth, a part of course, living out the attributes and the characteristics of Jesus Christ, it is to inspire young people so that they might be able to become all that God has ordained for them to be.
Man, you've been doing a great job as well, man. You've been doing a great job. You've had the opportunity to influence my son in a tremendous way and spend quality time as an agent of change and helping him to become who he is. So thank you for that. Mar, let's talk into why you chose what you've chosen, when the reality is, when you look at all that's happening in our world, you could have been doing so many other things.
Yeah. And one of those other things probably could have been the same, not self-centered, but arrogant, you know, big life-like person that I used to be. It actually took a turning point for me, with something. Trauma sometimes ignites change. And you know, that's what happened to me. I have a younger brother who was 11 years younger than I am. And he always looked up to me. And that was back when I was living the street life at the time. And he had a 4-year scholarship, long story short. And trying to, I guess, in the midst of that, even though he was out loud to make his own choices, idolizing me, although he never been in trouble before, he got involved with some people who were down there in college or whatever, the wrong type of friends, and end up being put in jail for life. So a person who has never been locked up before or been in any kind of trouble now sits in prison with a life sentence for something that really wasn't him, just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so it ended his life, you know? And so I'm saying to say this is that we choose who we idolize at point times. If you have the options, and I have a choice to lead by example, and a person cannot be what they cannot see. So if you want a man to grow up and be a man, he has to see a man. And that's my purpose at that point. Is like, I'm not going to do it. If I can't do it for my brother, I'm going to do it for every other young man that I most possibly can, to try to change or provide other alternative options to what a real man is. And not only just stop there, but teach them how to lead others as well. And that's what I'm dedicating the rest of my life to doing, and being leaders.
You know, both of you guys remind me so much. Y'all know both. I've worked with young people for years, initially starting grassroots programs in the Bahamas. And those were pretty much the same feeling that I felt coming in, knowing that somebody had to offer this level of service that will help the next generation to possibly be better, And then after you put in some years, when you see adults who glean off of what you gave them and they start to move into who they are as adults, there's some joy, man. there is some joy that is just unspeakable. And so my question to you guys, with all that's happening within our world, the challenges that we're facing, what do you find to be the greatest challenges that young people are facing today? Because we know it's not like it was 10 years ago. It's not like it was 20 years ago. But yet there's still challenges. There's still massive problems. And I think we don't see the gangs in the mall like we used to see. We don't see the carjacking in the neighborhoods like we used to see. We don't see the fights on the basketball court like it used to be. We don't see, you know what I'm saying, the school fights like it used to be, but there's still problem among our young people. You guys are in the trenches. Starting with you, Adrian, what is your opinion to be that of some of the more prominent problems facing our young people today?
Well, one, I believe, is the lack of the village. We no longer have that village. I remember growing up, man, and hanging out with, the family, 2 houses down. And the mama had no problem getting on my behind when it was necessary. And then, I remember going around the corner. And it was the same ordeal. We don't have that any longer. The village is missing. The village is absent, and the context and the constructs of our neighborhoods and our communities today no longer look like they did 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. The complexities and the ideologies, the mindset of families look totally different. Now, there's an array of reasoning behind that, but it does not negate the fact and the truth that young people still need community. Young people still need a mama outside of a mama, a grandma outside of a grandma, if you feel what I'm saying. And so we are lacking that neighborly expression of true definition of love. You can get love, from one house, and you used to be able to get love from another house, and love didn't always feel good. But it was all love. But it was all love because the community, the village, had the young person's interests, better interests in mind. I see much further than you do, and so I'm going to give you the necessary instruments to make you better because I see better.
Wow, that is so good, man. I would have never thought of it that way, but that is so profound, so necessary to be looked at. And we're definitely living in a world where we definitely find ourselves not living in the village-like community mindset that we've had in times past that was so supportive and so much more engaging. And it was an accountability model that really reinforced a lot of good principles, but now we live in such different type of isolation, and people drive straight into their garages, and don't know who's on the right, don't know who's on the left, and it's just me, myself, and I, and my household. So that's real interesting. And for those of you that are watching us this morning, I want you to think about what these guys are saying, and I want you to start understanding that the next generation, they're going to replace us. And the principle that needs to be passed on, we as adults have to take responsibility in making sure we're showing them community. We're showing them that there is people outside of their homes that are really for them, and that there is some level of success that cannot happen in and of yourself. You need community. You need a village. That is so good. Mar, your views on what is the greatest challenge among young people today?
I would like to mainly just piggyback off what Brother Adrian was saying, and just saying that we need the village, but also it's the perception of that village, because the village is still out there. It's just more of it in a way that we cannot understand. And what I mean by that is that we've grown accustomed to, remember when we were younger, it was always the elders would tell you like what it was like. What it was like in my day, you could buy groceries for this, and you could buy a whole go to the movies with a soda pop and everything for a quarter. It was like what, but those days have changed, and because those days have changed, when you have that, we've given ourselves the excuse or the right, the way out to say, well, that's no longer my problem. But see, there's another village emerging, and the village that's emerging is the electrical and virtual world.
Yes,
So
wow.
a lot of parents, and a lot of elders had grown accustomed to letting the social media and the video games babysit and raise our children, and there's no telling what they are seeing. You see, as opposed to the way that it was when we were younger. It was easy for a neighbor to come and tell my mother, who didn't play no games, what I was doing. If I got out of line, it's like, wait till I tell, Sister Butler. If I tell Mother Butler what's going on, I instantly just straighten up like an arrow, like 6 o'clock. I'm straight. And that's the way that it would be. But nowadays, you don't know that. You have to constantly be aware of where your child is going and what that child is watching, who are their biggest influences, because that's what have become their village nowadays. And that's the biggest challenge.
So monitoring the village.
Oh man.
That's good, man. Yeah, that is definitely good. Coach, can I
go ahead?
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, Marv, I love that. And I think that's really spot on, because there is a responsibility for us as adults. I won't just leave it solely up to the parent, but us as adults to somewhat shepherd young people in this technological age. And we need to figure out, what does that look like? What is our responsibility when it comes to oversight from a technical perspective? And what does that village, since things have changed, since we're in a new season, since we're in a new era, how can we help create these disciplines and these principles in this new technical age? How do we somewhat switch gears? And I think that's the overarching question that we have to pose to ourselves, because as we all know, technology is changing swiftly. Every day, technology is changing, and catch this, it's changing with the youth in mind.
Yes.
Not you and me. not us. Is changing with the youth in mind. And so if the adult is supposed to help monitor, help guard, help shepherd, help young people to understand, what is healthy, what may be unhealthy, then we have to be up on the times and the changes that are being constantly made. So just I thought I'd share that point, make that thought.
That's really good, man. That's really good. We're dealing with young people today, and those of you that are watching, please share this with someone. I believe that there are other individuals who are passionate about reaching the next generation that can be inspired and be reminded that in the midst of a pandemic, there are leaders who are still committed to doing what they were created to do. They found their lane and they're functioning inside of that. And that's who I'm talking with today. My question to you guys is, how important is a success mindset with this generation? And is there some intentional engagement that is necessary for success mindset? Does it just occur? Because I think when we look back, there was a little bit more intentional educating of the next generation as to the sky is the limit, as to you can be whatever you. But to me, to some degree, I don't feel as though you're hearing that as much anymore. To me, I don't know if the message of a success mindset is being passed on in the most healthiest of way. What do you guys view when it comes to the audience that y'all are working with, a success mindset? How important is it for us to help young people to capture that?
You want to go, Marv?
Yeah.
Go for it, Marv.
Okay, I can go for it. It's very important. It's very vital. It's either vital or it can be detrimental if you don't. It's as simple as that. A success mindset is whatever morals that you want them to live by in the future. You have to start instilling that in them right now. successfully. You know, certain words that they try to hang on to. Like I have a young boy, he loves to say that it's too hard. That's the first thing he'll say before he even tries the first step in anything, any game, if it appears to be a challenge. And what you have to do is you have to break down that word hard. First of all, you just can't say, don't say hard. You have to teach them the why. You have to tell them the why. It's not hard. It's just that you haven't took the steps to learn it yet. It's like if it's been created, that means it's a way to learn it. That means you have to change the way that you like to learn and try to address the learning curve. And before you know it, he's learning a new way to understand it. Understanding that some people have the fine skills and the learning skills. Some boys, especially young boys, they have motor skills that they get A's where they like to see and touch in order to learn. And if you understand that, then you start changing the way that you teach it, you know, to them to where they can understand it. Now the words are extracted from his vocabulary. He believes that he can do anything and everything. So that's just an example of some of the things that you want to instill in the person. And I learned this quote from someone some years ago, and I teach it now. And it says that it is easier to prepare young boys than it is to repair grown men. Wow. And if you don't want to go through the life of trying to repair broken men and women, you know, then you have to do your due diligence early and start preparing them while they're still young ladies and young boys.
Yes. Woo! I love that preparation is key for motivation, and I think when it comes to the prepping, success has to be modeled before young people, and in some of our communities, success is not visible. It is not seen, and then you also too have to ask, what is the definition of success? Because what looks like success to one young person, they look totally different in comparison to the next. Okay, and if all I'm seeing is athletes with 7-figure incomes, or if all I'm seeing is entertainers or actors, if that's all I see, then that is how I will define success. I will miss out on the assets that are right before me, and define my success model based on what I'm visually seeing, based, you know, on entertainment, or based on television, or based on social media. And so, nevertheless, I think it has to be modeled. That's why mentorship, discipleship is so important. And I know mentorship is really a broad statement, and mentorship is defined based on perhaps one's own experiences. But nevertheless, if you have someone like a Marv who will walk with you, and when you do say things that maybe don't align with who you actually are or who you can be, then that individual can stand to help you correct yourself and help you to see that, okay, yes, it may be difficult, or yes, this may be tough, but on the flip side, I think I can handle this. I think I can handle this. If we can create that type of mindset, then it leans toward success. Success is not based on a position. I don't think success is based upon your income bracket. It's not geographically defined. I believe success is based on how one lives its life, or how one individual can live effectively.
Oh, that's so good, Adrian. That's so good. Let me ask you this: while we're here, within our society today, one of the things that I'm noticing is that the way of learning in relations to young people today does not fit the mold of how we learn for the most part. So there is a huge debate that's saying the educational system is outdated, and a lot of our children are struggling because they're being taught not the way as to how the world is now. They're being taught as to how things were in relations to the system that we've built for 100 years in relations to educating young people. So now we have kids today who's like, listen, I don't want to write nothing. They didn't mean they don't want to learn. They just don't want to write. Right? And why do I have to write when I don't think I'm ever going to use to write, you know? And so the smart schools, they're learning, what are your skill set? Where's your interests? And they're learning what they call trade schools. You know what I'm saying? There's these high talent schools. There's these schools. How important is it for parents to tap into that? Because I think the schools are about to adjust. I think the universities are having to adjust. I think the workspace is having to adjust. I don't think parents are adjusting. So I've met more parents in this last season. Like, I've had to help my 5th grader, my 7th grader with these math. I don't know no math with letters and numbers. Why do they have letters and numbers together? What's that all about? Right? And so if there's this huge disconnection, but here's the deal. I was listening to my son. He did an interview this week on a live broadcast with Deborah Smith. And one of the things I noticed when he was talking, he said this. He said, with my generation, this is how we believe. And he was talking to another generation. And what I saw there, I was like, oh, man, I never thought about the fact that they've been conditioned with almost everything different than what I was built on. And that's why, as you mentioned, Adrian, there's this village principle that has to be passed on, that we need to say there is principles and then there is methods. Methods are evolving constantly. The way things are about is changing constantly, but there are certain foundational principles that is unmovable. Can you share a little bit on that?
Yeah. Principles will always remain, and I think principles are directly connected to values. So even with my nonprofit, our curriculum Ignite Me, we kick off. I think it's session 1, session 2. We start off talking about what are your values, and a lot of students, they're really not sure what values mean and how they directly affect who they are as an individual. And so when it comes down to principles in comparison to methods, you hit it right on, Coach. I mean, methods will always evolve, but the principles will remain the same. That's why it's important that you know who you are. And that has to be instilled. That has to be taught. For my family, we have a core set of values that we have literally instilled in our daughter. These are our values, and if she so desires to make some adjustments to those values when she leaves this house, perfectly fine. But she has the foundation. She understands what a value, what it is, and how it directly shapes who she is. And that directly connects to our principles and how we live as individuals amongst individuals. I think that's one of the reasons why humanity looks the way it does. We are so segregated and so divided because we lack that foundational those foundational principles that are needed and necessary for all of us, regardless to ethnicity, creed, does not matter. There are some foundational values and principles that need to be instilled early on. And if methods change, let methods change. But I will remain who I am because I have a set of principles and a set of values that I live by.
I so agree. Mar, your opinion on that?
It is easy for a person to transition once they understand who they are and where they are and why they are. Those things will automatically come about, and you can embrace life as it comes to you, no matter what it is. If when you try, like as we were saying before, success mainly lies within the perception. As Earl Nightingale once put it, he says that success is the aggressive pursuit of a worthy ideal. So he didn't put anything perspectives, anything specifics, no specifics, because you have to understand that times will change. And I think that we have created the generational gap because the lack of empathy, I believe, on the older generation's part. When I was saying I'm Generation X, My biggest mistake was trying to force a millennial to cram them into the generational X lifestyle, you know, and trying to implement into their style, their understanding as a millennial. But it was some parts of me that have to relent at that and say, you know what, let me be receptive of how they are going through it, and see if I can still work to try to put the morals and principles in there, and then we can find a way to work together. Just because something worked for you back in your day, the same way might not work for them this day. So trying to come with those same type of teachings will only draw more of a disconnect, and that wedge becomes deeper and wider and far in between. And before you know it, you are teaching ineffectively rather than effectively. You know, and so if you want to be effective, the first thing we have to do, we have to be empathetic and realize that we have to do our part in establishing a connection. You know, and if that means that you're working with children that are doing something virtually, the virtual learning, shoot, that's a virtual thing with me too. Like after that session is over with, me and that teacher got to have a heart to heart. And it's like, hey, can you help me understand any of this? You know, I might need some generational tutoring going on just so I can be the parent. You know what I'm saying? It's like Ricardo was saying, you know, and I know that math problems come with letters and triangles and all kind of stuff. I have no idea what I'm looking at, you know? But in order to be that person for them and be that security and to be that stable base and say, hey, even if we don't know it, let's try to find a way to figure it out together, because I want to help you get through this. And just by them knowing that even though you don't know, you're not afraid to try and learn. Come on.
Yes.
Man, that is so good. And I can piggyback off of what Mark was stating. We have to be willing to say when we don't know.
Yes.
I think that's so key. That's so important. Oh my gosh, because that in of itself helps our young people to understand that you don't have to know everything.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, and I think there's pressure sometimes for our young people to feel as if though they have to know everything. And when we say we don't know, as adults, as moms, as dads, it helps that young person to realize, it helps that son, that daughter to understand that, baby, you don't have to have it all together.
Right. Hey,
because I don't.
That's so good. You know, I got an 18-year-old son, and RJ asked me a question the other day. I said, man, I have no clue. Let's see what Google says. I said, let's see what Google says. And then I said, let's talk about what Google says, because now I need to make sure Google is in alignment with what I believe. But I'm not trying to come across like the dude who knows it all, but I can help him filter the bigger view back to the value system that we're supposed to live on.
Right, exactly.
So let me ask you guys this. I know we're prime into our talk. In the midst of this pandemic, there are things parents ought to be doing. Unfortunately, some aren't doing. What are some things that you believe that parents can do to help their children to be more, to take advantage of the pandemic? As a matter of fact, there are young people who have pivoted themselves, and rather than taking a dive and losing, they have adapted to this new model, and it's actually working for them. In your opinion, what would you say that would be a few things parents can do to help their young people or their children during these times that are so changing, and we're seeing the change, but we're not making sure that our children are being supported in the best way to thrive in the midst of all this?
I'll say one real quick: self-care. Self-care. The parent must take care of themselves in order to take care of the family. I have a few more, but go ahead, Mark.
No, that's mainly what it is. You have to have that me time. You know, that you have to have that, and it's important. The things that you can do as a parent to get through with the child is to understand that, hey, we are stuck in a situation that we cannot control. Right. But within that space, there are some things that we can.
Yeah.
So let's see what we can do together to try to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. So it's inclusion. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And that's what we're doing right there. Inclusion from an idealistic perspective, to where you are both working together. Everyone's working together to try to create a space. And so when they know that you need that me time, that me time will be more respected at this point, because they know that everyone is working together in this environment, in the part that they can control, just the part that they can control. And that's what you are. So it's really used like, well, we can't control what the rest of the world is doing, but we can try to take control of what we are doing within this castle, within this home. You don't even have to call it a home anymore. You can call it a castle, or this world. You know, this is our state. This is depends on the age of the child. You can call it whatever, and it just helps. Like we are working towards something. It's realistic. These are realistic ideologies that you can adopt and you can use with consistency. So I believe it's just that, just getting everyone involved at this point in time, and just means creating your own space, your own space, instead of letting it being controlled by other external stimuli. That's what I believe.
That is so good. Adrian, you said you had a few more.
Yeah.
You to share a few of them.
Oh, okay. All right. Communication.
Yeah.
Communication is key. And Marv, you alluded to it. We're in this space together. Therefore, how can we work together within this space? And that requires ongoing communication. And so another one that I thought of was patience. Just solely being patient. Things are not the way that they used to be. That comes with understanding, and patience really ties into you walking alongside your child in any given situation. So take, for example, if there is a subject matter, we've been talking about math a little bit. If there is something that you are not familiar with, then be patient with, for one, yourself, acknowledge your lack of understanding, find what is needed, find the resource. That's another one. Take advantage of resources that are tangibly available to you, and be patient and walk alongside your child. I would even communicate, hey, let's be patient with one another. I've had to do that with my daughter. Let's be patient, honey. The Wi-Fi is currently not functioning as we desire for it to be. The internet just crashed. It just dropped. Let's be patient. It will come back up. In the meantime, what else can we do? What else can we give our attention to? And that's important as well. Reading, finding, get your child reading. Find some ways to connect them to extracurricular activities, even while in the home. Even while in the home, there are some resources that are available. So those are some of the things that we've seen in my home, in my castle.
Come on.
Work.
Go ahead, Mark.
Hey, real quick, I know you, before we go to the next subject, I just want to also add that I've developed something that's called, it's the shared time. You have the getaway time that everyone has, right? But then you have the dedicated shared time together as well, when you're working with them. Like I find with me and my son, we turn back around and we're playing football, or while we're chunking the ball back and forth, we're talking about games. And when we're chunking the ball back and forth, we're also discussing life. But I take it upon myself, by me being an older person, to come down to his level, learning some of the games that he liked to play, whether it's video games or whatever. Learn some, because first I was like, man, what in the world is a robot? I don't have no idea. But he's asking for money to buy a virtual house. I have no idea. Somebody, he has to pay bills. So I'm learning the games. Like, okay, well let's play it together, so I can figure out, what's going on. It's like, shoot, maybe they might got something to help me pay mine around.
Man, that's
the inclusion, you are creating a whole different space, another world, something, a different type of level that I would not have had, prior to the pandemic. So it's like we have a new space, we have a new relationship, but now it's a new opportunity for not only being in his life, but I got another opportunity, another way to teach. So I can turn all of that around. Now I can use the video game as a means to drive points home to him about this. You're like, your favorite person is Minecraft, and this right here, this, this person is this and that. So and I know how to transcend that message to this. It's a real life situation, and they understand because now we are collecting on a whole different level. So those little tactics like that, like getaway things. Planning to get away, even if it's just driving around the corner of the Jack in the Box or whatever, Panera Bread, just picking up a sandwich. That's our getaway. Like, let's do it together. And if you planning that, they know it's not just half-hearted. It's something that you are actually planning to do together because they understand that they are in a pandemic. And that's what you're doing. Is like we are working together to get through, regardless of what we're in. So you are keeping that same ideology. Like we are controlling our own space down here. This is what we are doing. So it's teaching them for the long run what to do in case, because you're training them with the why, and that's what it is. In case something happens, ever run into another situation, remember, control what you can control, regardless of everything else. And I think that's what's most important.
That's so good, guys. We're almost done. I have 2 more questions for you guys. This first question, I thought, I had a parent ask me this not so long ago, and I want to hear what your guys' opinion is on it. And that was, in the midst of all that happened in 2020, what mistake you saw parents making then that within 22 days of the new year, you're seeing continues? Unfortunately, it's almost like the lesson wasn't learned in 2020. And it's an unfortunate truth that people are almost looking like they're doing the same thing. And their heart's desires for better, but if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same result. What would you say that you see as a common result that was dominated in the life of a parent that really was not the best way to go about things in 2020, but 2021, you're sort of seeing it rise to the occasion of being that same thing again? Adrian?
I would say... perhaps being overly inundated, I think, and overly consumed with what you can control. And I think, Marv, you spoke very eloquently about just controlling the environment. And a lot of times our environment is not controlled. It's chaotic. And we have to be able to make that switch in this new year. What took place and what transpired in 2020 is what was. We have to look toward 2020 with a totally different frame of thinking and have a greater control on what is transpiring in our environment. There are some things that you can handle. There's some things that you can't. And so with that in mind, it's having that sense and that set focus to where I'm not going to allow what is transpiring, even in my own personal life, to keep me from having some sense of discipline, because my child needs to see structure. My child needs to see that all is going to be well. So what happened in 2020 is what happened. Learn from it, grow from it, control that environment, show forth discipline. Don't allow yourself to carry the weights that you carried in 2020 over into this new year. Do whatever you need to do, whether it be getting with a coach, whether it be getting with someone that can assist you with overall planning, so that then this year can look opposite and you can have a better grip on life in of itself, whether it be personal situations or whether it be situations that have unexpectedly hit your home.
Man, hey guys, both of you talking on that point, I thought that is so good. I'm a big believer in that. Control the things you can control, and learn how to get a mastery on that. Because there are some things at the end of the day, when you know you can't control it, then like you mentioned, Adrian, when you told your daughter, hey, the internet is acting crazy, but hey, Hey, the world ain't coming to an end, not because the
Right.
internet is going in and out. Let's calm down a moment.
Yeah.
And that's helping her to know we can't control that, but what we can control is our response to how that is acting.
Right.
We can control our response. Mar, before we go into our final question, any view on that?
Oh, I think Brother Adrian put it, well. You have to work to keep that perspective, the main thing ahead, going forward. If that is one of the mistakes, is that we're slowly dragging the effects of 2020 over into a whole new year. And it's supposed to be the beginning of changing, and it starts with the mindset.
Yeah.
And if you are still carrying the same mindset, a child recognizes stress. A child recognizes frustration because of the way that we respond. Whether we say anything or not, they can pay attention to an adult's behavior. Like they may not pay attention to what you say, they might not pay attention to what you do, but they do pay attention to how you are feeling, because how you're feeling, that's a reflection. Most of the time, children grow up reenacting or reflecting what they've learned through unspoken behavior, unspoken languages. And so when they see that we are watching the news and we're paying attention to social media and everything that's been carrying on, especially with all of the events, the unfortunate events that's been occurring lately from the beginning of this year, if we're expressing that and we're not talking about that, we're not digesting that, we're not doing a healthy dialogue to try to discuss through those situations and why it's important, then what we're doing is we're just carrying and leaving the child forced to believe whatever, their own opinion, come to their own conclusion, and they'll start acting what that image is to them. Or my mother doesn't, or my father doesn't like a certain amount of people or a certain color or a certain creed of people, therefore I don't like them either. And you don't even know why. It's just that you're not cognizant, you're not mindful of the fact that the child is actually paying attention to you, what you're talking about, and the frustration of it. Even if it's financial stress, you have financial woes, you have social stress, you have this racial conflict and everything that's going on. It is so much. But if you can sit down and have a healthy dialogue and discuss all of it and have a discussion, you're creating that space again and say, we're going to control what we can control. We can't control everything that's going around us, but hey, here's an opportunity for us to get on top of it and find out what can we control and how do you really feel about that? How do you feel about it? Mind what I feel about it. How do you feel about it? Because that's what's most important. You are the child. I need to know how you feel about it. You're the teenager or whatever. This is going to be your world soon. Long after I'm gone. So I gotta make sure that your why is intact. That's my main goal. I gotta make sure that your why is intact. So I need to know how you feel about it first. And then we'll discuss it later. We'll meet somewhere in the middle.
Gentlemen, man, this has been a conversation, man. Next time I'm gonna have to tell y'all we're gonna do a conversation marathon and we're gonna just talk about stuff. Okay. But man, closing question I have for you guys. What advice would you give your 20-year-old self? Looking at all that's happening in the world now, and if you had to look back and say, you know what, as a parent or even talking to a teenager, man, let me tell you something. 20-year-old Adrian McConnell, 20-year-old Mar Butler. Hey, man, this is the principle to which I've come now to accept. It's maybe something you knew then, but now you're more convinced of now, or it's something you had no clue of then, and now you are ready to die for now. What would that be as we get ready to close this out?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things, but one in particular would be that life is a vapor, and it literally moves quickly. I had no clue that I would be where I am today, and so in the speed of days, pace yourself, and take the day as it comes. Take the day as it comes. Don't become so overwhelmed in the moment that you miss the moment. Because if you miss the moment, then you may miss the opportunity. And if you miss the opportunity, then you may miss the plan of God.
Wow. Oh, that is so good. Mark?
Oh, I would definitely first of all, I would tell him that, hey, man, you still going to be looking good, so don't trip.
Yes,
But
sir.
But seriously, though, on a serious note, I would tell him that, hey, you cannot love nobody else until you learn to love yourself first. That's what I would tell him. Like, spend time to learn to love yourself first. Get to know who you are. Get to know why you're tall, why you're so important in this world. Get to know exactly what a man does and the good things about manhood and what it really is. So therefore, when you do meet that special someone, you have something to offer and not expect. You see, you don't have to have any expectations, and therefore you won't be disappointed. You won't have to overcompensate for what you don't know. You can just bring you to the table, and you would know how to love in return. You know, and that's what I would tell myself. And let's man, patience. Let life come to you. It will be fine. You don't have to rush. Let that life come to you. It's going to happen anyway. And if it doesn't happen, and if it didn't happen, that meant it wasn't for you. Or go back and try again. But whatever it is, don't rush. Don't be hesitant. Don't be so quick to switch lanes and change your mind and change positions. Life going to happen. But most importantly, love yourself first.
Come on. Come on. Love yourself first. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Effective Living Friday morning, live conversation with two incredible gentlemen. Thank you guys for joining us this morning. Could you all tell our viewing audience if they wanted to connect with you? Adrian, I know you have an incredible nonprofit. If someone wanted to follow what you have going on, how can they reach out to you? Mar, you're available to speak, and you're doing some incredible things there in the Dallas School District as well. Could you just share with how people can contact you if they needed to reach out to you guys?
Yeah, certainly. You can find me at www.youthrevive.org.
Yep. Nice.
Yep.
Yes. Everything that I have is, I'm sorry, were you finished?
No, go for it, Mark.
Yeah, everything that I have is Mar Butler, marbutler.com. You can go to www.marbutler.com and see exactly what I've been doing and who I am and what I'm about. Social media, everything is Mar Butler Speaks. It's MARBUTLER Speaks. Everything, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. I'm even on Clubhouse now and just talking there, just having meaningful conversations. I would love to have you, would love to be a part of whatever you have, speaking to the youth, to the, young adults and so forth, all the way. Just, it doesn't matter. Old adults need them too, because we used to be young children. So I'm there to give the knowledge, like, let's create this space. Let's grow together. Let's make this year, and I'm here to be booked. Ricardo, thank you so much for having me here, brother. I think it's been a pleasure to be here and serve with you, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate both of you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, well, there you have it. Go ahead and share this link. Invite someone else to be a part of what you just heard. And subscribe to my YouTube channel. This was live on YouTube. This was live on Twitter. And it's also live on Facebook. Go ahead and make it a great day. Listen, guys, it's all about constructing the life that you desire that will bring honor and glory to God and bring you to a place where you say, you know what? I'm in my lane. I'm doing what I was created to do. And I'm loving life to the fullest. Have a great day, guys. Don't forget to share the link with someone today. Bye-bye.